hierarchy. But we're creating problems for working as a team, because if I'm a good leader, what am I leading? I've got to lead a team, a cohesive group, people working together to achieve a common goal. And you can't do that if you start creating obstacles. And language is often an obstacle, whether it's because you don't speak English as well as I do, some might argue with that, but whatever it is, we don't create obstacles. In a business, we focus on the bottom line. In a government agency, we would focus on outcomes that support something for the community. So we've got to focus on the end game. Now, where I worked, we implemented a system of governance. And it was invented by a husband and wife in America called Carver. That's Carver Model of Corporate Governance. You can look it up. It's brilliant. Because it talks about ends. They call them ends policies. Where do I want to be at the end of what I'm doing? And those are the important things that we're losing sight of. And you as people need to keep asking questions. Whatever organisation you're in, if you think somebody is leading you down a rabbit hole, ask yourself, do I really want to follow this? Do I really want to follow this? Or can I find something else that will excite me, that will make me happy about going to work every morning? Okay. This is a man I just read, Jordan B. Peterson. Very controversial. He tells the truth. And that is controversial today. Why I like that particular statement there. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday instead of someone else. That same athlete I was talking about went to the Moscow Games. And he was due to compete against a guy who had been the world's best triple jumper for decades. He was a fabulous competitor. But he was old. He wasn't as fast as my guy. He wasn't as good. My guy just completely lost it. Because he was going in against his hero, and I can't compete against my hero. He also said something really funny to me. He called up on the phone and he said, I said, what went wrong? You lost. He said, well, it was raining. I said, oh, there's water on the runner. I said, so it was only there for you. It wasn't there for anyone else. He said, well, it affects me more. What? These are the sorts of excuses people make when they start comparing themselves to others instead of comparing to yourself, trying to better yourself. And when you talk about leadership, are you people going to make the same mistake that the people of Germany made with Adolf Hitler? Or are you going to ask questions continuously? Is this person a good leader? Is this person taking us in the right direction? I don't think a lot of Americans who hate Donald Trump are doing that. There's an awful lot of energy goes into hate. Hate is one of the worst things you can do. Yeah, you disagree with someone. You don't like what they think. But hate is a big jump. And I watch it. Because I lived in America for 3 years when I was a kid. And I got a lot of friends there, and I watch them on Facebook and I say nothing. I do the Schultz, I say nothing, because I don't want to upset them. I have a friendship based on other things other than politics, even though I'm a political animal. And I just despair at the lack of questions that are being asked. People are not saying, well, hang on, forget about Donald and all the terrible things he's done. Let's just see if he's doing what he promised to do. Help How many politicians do that? You know, I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going to say, I think he's actually a reasonably good leader. Does he do everything right? Does a leader have to do everything right? Does a leader have to be the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow? Or can the leader grow? Well, with Hitler, we didn't grow, he went downhill. So we know that leadership can go in all sorts of different directions. So it's time dependent. What do I mean by that? You start out here, you're a great leader, over here, not so good. You've killed 8 million people. Okay? So it's also time dependent. And unless the people, that's all of you, have the good nous to ask questions all the way along. Unless you are watching a leader, whether it's on a football team or not, whether it's leading the country, whether it's in a company, if you see that the organisation is going in the wrong direction, get out. You know, get out. You're making a mistake staying around. Now, since I've just told you not to ask me any questions, I'm going to say now, ask me any questions. And I may respond with a question. How am I going for time, Harry?
Still good? Half an hour?
Half an hour? Oh, all right. Well, we might even have to expand it a bit. I actually wrote some notes to expand it. Okay. So, a true leader is someone you want to follow. A true leader is an innovator. There's something. I haven't said that before. An innovator. Am I an innovator? Yeah. I'm trying this new method. That's innovative. I hope it works. Because I did say to my son, he's actually watching this. I said, I'm either going to do really well, and this is going to go down well, or it's going to be a miserable flop. It's not a miserable flop, is it? So, the thing about innovation is about trying things, trying new things. Inventors do it all the time. Was it Edison who invented the light? Famously, a reporter asked him, you made 10,000 mistakes. How did you keep going? He said, no. They were 10,000 learning experiences. And a very, sort of a favourite management guru of mine is Tom Peters. And Tom Peters once said that chances...
No, the question came to your son.
Oh, yeah, okay. My son's now sent me a question.
And he just said, should I help him?
Smart aleck. He's in America, by the way. I'm going to see him in a week. Tom Peters once said that there are, to have a success in something, the odds against it are 10 million to 1 of having success. And I guess that Edison proved that. There's an awful lot of things you've got to fail at and get up and go again. So he said the chance of success is 10 million to 1. And the only way you're going to cut those odds is to make your mistakes faster. Right? But how many organisations do you think there are in this country who would let you make mistake after mistake after mistake? There are companies in the US that when you go for an interview, say to you, tell me the worst mistake you ever made. What's the biggest stuff-up you ever made? And if you can't answer positively, they won't hire you. Because one of two things is true. One is, you're lying. The second thing is, or you've never tried to do anything different. So, as a leader, you've got to risk failure. As an athlete, and I was an athlete, not just a coach, every time I stepped on the starting line, what was I doing? I was risking failure. That's the way to look at it, right? I want to win, no doubt about it. But if I never stepped on that line, I guarantee you I wouldn't have failed. And I also stepped on that line believing I would win. Was I a great athlete? No, I was probably along the lines of most people. I was average. I won my share, I lost my share. But I always stepped on the line believing I would win. And I remember one time somebody said, well, you won't beat this guy. He's the best in the world, he holds the world record. Yeah, right down here. I said, yes, but if I'm racing him, I expect to win. He could fall over. He could tear a hammy. And everybody remember that ice skater from Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah. He won because everybody fell over. It happens. And as a leader, you know that it could happen. I remember my coach telling me something really profound. He said, if you believe that you can win, you might. If you don't believe that, there's a big difference between might and won't. Won't is absolute. Might, yeah, they might all fall over. Never happened till Bradbury. They all fell over. He goes to public speaking events all the time now. He's famous. What can you talk about? I went in the race and they all fell over. So, leadership is about taking risks. And I always like the idea of having stories around stuff I understand. And you should learn stories about your life that help you to understand. When my coach in America died not long ago, I had a dream to go and see him one more time. I was there in the 60s, so it'd been 40, 50 years since I'd seen him. I got to see him. And he remembered me still. It shows you what a shit kid I was. He still remembered me. And he remembered all the crazy things I did. It was great, crystal clear. But one thing that happened was I did get to see him. And I got to say something I forgot to say. Thank you. I hadn't said it to him. I said, I'll tell you something. When he was on his deathbed, me and my mum and so on were standing by him, and he talked about my visit on his deathbed. How cool is that? I finally found out he liked me. Yeah. It's funny, he was tough. He was a great leader because he knew my failures. He knew my failings. One of my failings was that if I won, I got a big head. I thought I was great. And he always brought me back down to earth. Because he'd bring me out and he'd say, what did you do wrong? I won! I got a trophy, I'm great. He said, what did you do wrong? So he brought me back down to earth. Leaders do that. Leaders tell you the truth. That's wacky. Dr. Jordan Peterson found in his book, 12 Rules of Life. He will tell truth. Leaders can tell the truth. Successful people can tell the truth. Many choose not to, politicians don't. So leadership is also about who you are. If we go back to Nelson Mandela, why do I like him so much? Well, the fact that he came out of a really, really bad situation and he worked to build everybody into a team. Black, white, didn't matter. Colour didn't matter. What you'd done, evil things, let's talk about it. Let's tell each other what we did. Tell each other we recognise that wasn't a cool thing to do. And then let's move on. He brought a country together, and I thought nobody's going to bring that country together. That was another country I lived in for 4 years when I was young. And I know about apartheid. And I thought there's no way he's going to bring that together. But he did. What a leader. But he was a terrorist. Do we forgive him that? Do you forgive him? So I think leadership is so many things. But ultimately, it's an individual thing. It's what we feel. Now that I think I've covered a little bit more, I can keep going. But I think we should ask some questions. I think we should. You should ask questions. And not my son. Not my son. My son is also does this sort of public speaking stuff. You can see it runs in the family. Anybody? Come on. Somebody put your hand up. Ask a tough question. And I'll give you a tougher one back. Come on. We must have some. No. Thank you. Give this girl extra points.
I just wonder, in your opinion, whether you think Donald Trump is a good, very good leadership.
That's a tough question. It deserves an answer. Do I believe it? When Donald Trump ran for president, I, like most people, said, no way will he ever get there. I made a big mistake. I was looking at a leader. You know, I got to see, but I wasn't getting into the questions. I didn't have a look at his opposition and say, well, is she any good? So, why it's important to ask questions is you can start to develop an idea. Now, there was a handful of people in this country who actually predicted he would win right back in the beginning. And people laughed at them. Why did he win? Could it be that he did exactly what Adolf Hitler did? He identified areas in the United States where there were problems. And people were worried. And nobody was talking about it. Hillary wasn't. Hillary didn't go to see them because they'd always voted Democrat. So she didn't go to see them. So they heard the words of Donald, who said, I understand. It's a bit weird when this guy's a billionaire saying to a metal worker or a coal worker, I understand. But you can understand without actually being part of it. Remember what I said about when I used to speak to politicians and I wasn't a technician? Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's just having somebody say they understand. You know, he's got a past which is a bit, with women, a bit weird. But does that matter? Kennedy, most loved American president. He was a terrible womanizer. Terrible. There was another one. Clinton, I think was his name. Nearly got impeached on being a womanizer. So it's not, you know, we can then say, well, yeah, but Donald's worse because he did this or he did that. We don't know what he did. We don't know what Bill did. We don't know what Kennedy did. In truth, we've got, you know, their stories. So, you know, is it important what they did, or is it more important that they actually do what they say they're going to do? You know, sometimes I'm inclined. I remember when John Howard was in as Prime Minister. I think people even that didn't like Howard were prepared to follow him because you knew what he stood for. You might not have agreed with it at all, but he didn't flop around all over the place. He stuck to what he believed in. So, I'd like a leader who did that. A leader who said, you know, this is what I believe. This is my commitment. And that's the way I'm going to go. The choice is yours to follow or not. And as a political leader, there isn't a country, except maybe North Korea, where everybody supports the leader. But in most cases, that's not the case. Right? That's not the case. So it's quite clear that a leader can represent less than 100% of the followers and be a good leader. Because I might say, I don't like Donald Trump. He's a creep. And I don't like what he's doing. So therefore I'm not going to follow him. Fine. Do you really think yelling that out at the top of your voice every single day of the week is going to make a difference? He doesn't care. No, he doesn't care. I shouldn't say this, but that's where Don and I are the same. And I've said that before here. If you're offended by anything I say, I don't care. And that's the wonderful thing about my age group. I came from an era where you took responsibility for yourself. And that's why I say I'm a great salesman for Jordan Peterson. Because he's made some very obvious things about us as individuals. And one of the things, and my son who's listening now will love this, because he's read it as well. Jordan Peterson's big thing, and I always talk about it, apart from comparing us to lobsters, socially. He also says that his big one is about clean up your own room. Clean up your room, get it all sorted. That sounds terribly childish. But he then adds, you can't solve the problems of your family, of your community, let alone your country, if you can't even look after your own room. It seems a bit obvious, but how many people clean their own rooms? Is your room messy? You know, it's something that you need to think about. Is what do I need to be a good leader? Clean up my own room. That's a good start. It's good. I guarantee you, if you read that book, or you go online and see his 1001 videos, you will see how to live your life. It's brilliant stuff. Certainly worth a look, particularly males. Okay, who's next? Did I answer your question or did I make it worse? I'm not going to commit to loving Donald. And I don't wear his hat. Make Australia great again. Oh no, it's America, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, next question.
My name is Nabila. I want to ask you about Nelson Mandela. What were the problems that South African people were going through that he as a leader ensured that those problems were overcome?
What were the problems I was going through? When I was there, that was in late 1959 into the early 60s. So there was racial segregation. Very much what happened in America. Only a lot more violent. No, maybe not. There was a lot of violence. The whites dominated, absolutely. And, you know, if you were being unfair, a bit like Australia, now, with all the talk about Aboriginal versus white Australians, what he did was, he came along and he said, and it was at that time when the changeover, the clerk was prepared to let go of power, and for the majority to vote, and to elect their own president, which is how Mandela came to be. But what he said was we could go in and we could punish everybody who did something bad. Are we any better by doing that? Do we solve all the problems? No. Because he also recognised that the white man brought with him good things. There's a great comedy group from back in the 60s and 70s. And there was a wonderful piece where a group of them were sitting around wearing turbans and things, and they were talking about the Romans. And it was John Cleese. You all know John Cleese? Okay. Have a look at it. Have a look up. John Cleese, what did the Romans ever do for us? And he's very angry. He says, what did the Romans ever do for us? And I said, well, they introduced water, or, clean water, sewage. And they start going through it. He said, yeah, well, okay, well, there's that, but what else? And he keeps going through. And thing up, the thing up, then he comes up. Same in Australia. What did the white people ever do for us? I bet you didn't know that well before the white people got here, there is evidence that there was a drought that lasted for over 20 years in Australia. For those of you who have lived through a 10-year drought as I have, that was bad enough. But back then, 20 to 27 years I think it was. Do you realise something like 1/3 of all Aboriginals died of starvation? Why? Because they were nomadic. They didn't get food and preserve it and save it for a rainy day. They didn't grow stuff. So they died. They had no modern medicine. They had no cars. They had no social services. They had none of that. So wherever you get bad things happening, good things happen. That's something that we all need to be a bit clear on, is that what Mandela realised, and he had something to look at, right? You've heard of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is a basket case. And what they did is they killed off as many white farmers as they could. They took all their stuff. But it was a tribal area, same as South Africa. There were Zulus and Bantus and so on, and they hate each other. Same in Zimbabwe. They weren't good farmers. They would grow food enough for themselves on a huge plot and nothing for anyone else. Zimbabwe, South Africa, they were called the food bowls of Africa, because that's where the food used to come from. Now that Nelson's dead, the new leadership is trying to kill off the white farmers and take their land. Well, who's going to grow the food? Because that's not the way they work. That's not the way they think that things should happen. So Nelson, I think, realised that. And so he saw it was much better if we could bring black and white South Africans together and have them working together to make a better country. Yes, admit the things you did wrong and then put it aside. Learn from your mistakes. All leaders do that. He did. He was great at that. Somebody asked me, who in the world would I like to meet? Only one man, Nelson Mandela. I couldn't have done what he did. I would have come out bitter and twisted, for sure. So, I think, does that answer your question? Anybody else?
Yes. Hi, my name is Raj. My question is, are leaders born or they inherit the qualities as they grow up? And the second part is, what do you think of dynasty leadership? Dynasty leadership. Like from one...
Well, if you believe in dynasty leadership, then you're believing that it's inherited, that it's in the blood. I think that's not true. I think there are I think you can be a person who has an element of leadership in you when you're born, the way that you treat people, the personality and so on. But a lot of our personality is constructed over time anyway. The way we think is constructed over time. Circumstance dependent. Remember that? Time dependent, so we can grow into it. What was the first part? Got your question?
Leadership character.
Ah, yes. Born or made. Born or made. Look, I'll give you another sporting analogy. My good friend, who was the triple jumper, he was definitely born that way. He was born with these wonderful attributes. But, take this. I could be potentially the world's greatest sprinter. I could have all the attributes. If I never did any sprinting, because I never had the interest, I would never have realised it. If I didn't train properly, I may never have realised it. If I had an injury, I may never have realised it. So, just being born with a skill set, whether it's physical or intellectual, still means you have to work on it. You have to build it. You have to do the right things to make it work. And in a leadership sense, the same thing applies. Take our friend in North Korea. Is he a good leader? He's a leader. But was he born one? Not really. He killed more people who were opposed to him, and therefore he was a leader. That's one thing you could do. If you go back, we all know that Hitler killed 8 million people. Mao and Stalin killed over 100 million. And they wiped out much of their own population, the intellectuals, the geniuses, the really top-notch people. So that's one way to get to be a leader. Kill off anybody who represents a threat to that. But other than that, I don't see how you could be born a leader. Can you think of something that says, yes, you can be born a leader? Hereditary doesn't make you a leader, because you'll usually find anybody going back to the days of the kings and so on. Yes, they were born to be leaders, but did they lead? Or did they simply eliminate anybody who represented the threat? I don't think that's leadership. Do you? What do you think? No? All right. Anyone else?
Two more questions.
Yep, yep.
Hello?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Clara. So in my opinion, I think political leadership is quite different from leadership in other positions. I feel that political leadership or leaders, they often try to make popular or famous decisions.
Yep.
While leadership in business, they will try to make profitable or right decisions for the company as a whole. So where do you see the link between political leadership and leadership in other areas?
Your description of the difference is brilliant. It's spot on. Except time has come into play. And times have changed. And what we now have is companies not focusing on the profit. They're now going down all sorts of different rabbit holes. Now, if I was a cynic, I'd suggest that the focus on all the social norms of today, you know, the idea that women are treated worse than men, that there are these other disadvantaged groups and so on. If I was a cynic, I believe that a lot of companies and a lot of politicians are trying to distract us. Look at this! Don't look over here because we're doing something bad. That's a worry. Because yes, a company should be focused on the bottom line. And yes, the politicians should be focused on us. But are they? At the moment, we have a competition going in this country between Liberal and Labor to see who can give the most money to someone else. Sounds fair? You all vote for whoever gives you the most. But have you ever stopped to ask, whose money is it? This will surprise you. Governments don't have any money. It's ours. And they're always happy to give away our money. That's always good. That's good leadership, isn't it? Give someone else's stuff away because they worked hard for it. Give it away. Yeah, I'd like that leadership. So, and I don't think companies that concentrate on things like, for example, take Qantas and this language control. What useful purpose is that serving? Are they saying that 100% of all employees in Qantas believe in this crazy construct of pronouns. Over 200, over 260, the last count and growing. Now, how are you going to be, oh, God, I can't speak to this group of people because I don't know what to call them. It's getting difficult. It's not good for people to have to worry about offending somebody. That's what I said earlier. If I've offended you, I don't care. Get over it. Offence is very personal. And you can't legislate against offending somebody, because what offends you might not offend me. So it's a personal thing. You own it. Now, I've heard people say, I'm offended, I'm hurt. Who are you blaming? You see, if you are offended by something, you are responsible. You've accepted that. You've decided I'm going to be offended. Right? What Jordan Peterson says, we have to all accept that life is a little shitty. Right? What's it say? You live life and then you die. That's it. And leadership and being part of things is all part of that. It's all part of, can you be a good leader if you don't think broadly? If you're the type of person who's offended by somebody's words, or I had a wonderful person last night on Sky News, Rita Pan, former Iranian, and she showed a letter that she received. Oh my goodness me. It was a shocker. See if you can find it online. It attacked her, called her terrible things. She says, I take this guy to court. I said, yeah, but you don't know who did it. She said, no, he was really intelligent. He put his name and address on that. This is a woman who is fabulous. She tore into another lady there, and I thought, holy cow, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that. She is a very smart woman. Nothing offends her. She said, oh, what that's bad. You know, the people who really count, they don't call you those things. No? So I think it is your question. I ask a question. What do you think? You have a different view. And why? Do you think companies now concentrate on the bottom line too much? You do? Fair enough. And you've got to learn to argue that point. You've got to look for answers, and don't, any of you, look for the answers in the same place, which is, what do I believe? And then find people who support that. Always go and look elsewhere. Get different opinions before you make one. That's a great leader. A leader who can stretch out, who can change depending on the information that's come to them. That it? There you go. Am I on time?
Very well. Thanks, David.
Oh, okay.
My name is Lily. Thanks for the sharing. I have a small question. So, you're talking about the quality of a good leader, and you mentioned about to be a good listener. So my question is, how to be a good listener, and how do you tell somebody is a good listener and somebody is not?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'll give you a 30-second response, and I'm going to send you away to do something. Go and find videos of Jordan Peterson. Right? Jordan Peterson. He has the most incredible ability to listen. And I don't know how you spot a good listener. I always thought I was. So my sons told me I'm not.
I feel like
in some conversation, if I could answer the question and I can ask the question, so it probably I'm a good listener, but sometimes I just feel like socially awkward because I don't know what kind of question should I ask and what question I ask make me not that silly. So that's what I consider.
Does it matter if you look silly?
Yes.
Do you know, I quickly, we don't have to record this. When I was in a job one time, they were changing from the old handwritten method of counting to a computer. Had big computers back then. And I knew quite a bit about computers at that stage. But a lot of the people, my peers, did not. And so we had these training sessions. And we're sitting there, and I'm looking at them, and I know they had a question. They had a question they weren't going to ask. So I did. At the end of it, a number of them came over and said, David, thank you for asking that question. I didn't want to look like an idiot. So you're happy for me to look like an idiot and I knew the answer. But that's, you know, I think you ask, don't be afraid, don't be embarrassed about anything. You know, Musashi from the Book of Five Rings has made the point that when you say something or when you do something, you think, oh, why did I say that? Why did I do it? It's finished. You can't change it. So move on. And people worry too much about feeling bad. The only one who has the right to do that at the moment is me. Because I don't know whether you like what I'm saying here today or not. And so it really doesn't matter. I'll survive. If everybody puts 0 for me, I'll survive. It doesn't matter. Harry just won't invite me back. Okay. If you want to ask any questions, we can talk outside.
The last question from this time.
Last question.
Very quick, so you can follow me and say one word.
Okay.
Who is better speaker? That's probably you or me.
Me.
Thank you, David. So now we're gonna start the next session. It's about work-life balance and sustainable fulfilled work culture. Most of you guys can tell I'm from Japan. And, my parents pretty much didn't have any work-life balance. My dad used to work until late nights when I was a child. I didn't see him. So I call him dad, but I kind of say to him when I want to visit me next time. A bit sad. My mom also gave up a little bit of career because she's got my sister and me. Work-life balance, that's 20 years ago. But the work-life balance is a relatively new concept. And because I know how my parents used to work and, having life, Australia has a relatively nice work-life balance. But we have a speaker from Rapid Context, Sarah. I think Sarah is it. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi everyone, do you need to stand up and stretch or get some?
Yeah, everyone.
Stand up! I know that there's limited natural light. Yeah. Okay. Yeah? Alright, I won't make you do any exercise. Yeah. So I'm Sam Compton, and I'm the Director of Rapid Context. And I thought before I hand over to Sarah, who'll really do the hard work and give the whole presentation, I'd just spend a few minutes just talking a little bit about Rapid Context and who we are and what we do. And then Sarah will really talk about how we do it. So Rapid Context is 4 years old. I started the business off the back of an academic career, so mostly at ANU. I was there for about 10 years as a lecturer and researcher. And I'd done increasingly a lot of work with government, and noticed that there was this thing called consulting that some academics did and seemed to earn a lot more money. So I was very interested in learning about this and really about doing things slightly differently. So really challenging the time frames that happened in academia, but also challenging the way management consulting worked. So I thought at times it was a little bit superficial. So I really wanted to bring the best of both of those worlds together. So one thing from being an academic is I'd never really had a 9-to-5 job, and I'd had 3 kids during my PhD in my early 20s, so I didn't really know any other way of working rather than flexibly. In fact, I kind of took it for granted. So when we started Rapid Context, that was sort of the basis, and that was my outlook, and the entire business was built upon the kind of necessity for me and then everyone else to have a really flexible way of doing the work, whether it was remotely or in hours that weren't sort of traditional hours. So what we do at Rapid Context is two key things. One is research and analysis on organisational culture, diversity and inclusion, lots of policy reviews and policy writing, so lots of organisations. So we do a lot for defence, a lot of male-dominated organisations, so the Australian Football League, Cricket Australia, the Federal Police, and we do basically qualitative and quantitative research to really find out the current state in organisations. And secondly, we give a lot of advice and education and training on the topics that we uncover, whether it's particularly sensitive or complex issues. But increasingly, we've been asked to provide advice and training on how we actually do what we do in terms of flexible work. And we do that in a number of ways. So I just wanted to give that kind of quick background, and happy to answer any questions in terms of the management of the business and what Sarah's going to talk about. But otherwise, I'm going to hand over to Sarah. And I should say, many people ask us how we've managed to be quite successful after 4 years and profitable. And often I do say it's because I have a Sarah who enables that, and is also my sister, which makes it particularly easy for me to tell her what to do. So I can cut that. It's all right. Yes. Thank you.
So my asked us today to come and talk to you about work-life balance and flexibility. So are there any volunteers? What is work-life balance? What do you think it is? You're at an interesting part in your career. You just, I think, freshly graduated or still in your final year, and so studying, lots going on. So there are these concepts about what work-life balance is. Common definitions in society and by the media, often LinkedIn or Facebook, we'll call it, it's about having it all. It's having time to work, having time to play, getting the most out of your life. But these common definitions forget a few things. There's the myth that work and life are separate. So have a look at these images. So much connection. We lead such interconnected lives, and that's our reality now, especially for the younger generations. The line between work and life is so blurred that it no longer exists anymore. We have watches that alert us and give us notifications. Lots take their watches or throw their phones to the toilet. There's constantly tiny clips about accidents that happen. There was another image I almost put up in America. They blocked up a texting lane to stop people bumping into each other. So you guys are faced with one of the toughest challenges. How will you disconnect? There's the second myth about work-life balance. And that's that there is an end point, that someday you will finally figure it out and you'll have achieved it. That there's this utopia. And that once you understand it, then you'll be set up for life. Does anyone here think that they've got work-life balance figured out? there anyone that feels stressed by it? Thanks. Is there anyone that feels stressed or overloaded, stretched? Sorry, I wish I was giving you the script for what it would look like. There's another myth that once you get it, that it's permanent. But really, work-life balance changes as you move throughout your careers, throughout the phases of your life. If you have children, if you're retiring, if you are studying, changing career paths, it's constantly changing. If only we did have the keys to success. So the reality is that although media is constantly pushing this idea that we will get work-life balance, is that Australia really struggles with it. Their stress rates were the third lowest for the longest working hours in OECD countries. Here are some headlines that I got just this morning. That creating a work-life balance for financial professionals can be difficult to master. That Bub Desk helps mum get back work-life balance, like she had it to start with. So there's constantly this idea that we should be mastering it and getting it and achieving it, and really it's setting ourselves up for failure. A Google search, again, that I did this morning, how to get work-life balance in Australia, brought up results over 10 million hits. 10 million results of people trying to tell us how to do it or questioning how to do it. So really no one has it sorted. So something that I'm quite passionate about is flexible work. I know. How can she do it? But that's a question we always ask ourselves. How can you work flexibly? So flexible work is really about moving away from that traditional 9 to 5 work structure that served us for generations. Put your hand up if your parent was a 9 to 5 worker, or beyond 9 to 5. Yeah. So what we're moving into is trying to figure out how we can use flexible work to work towards that utopia of work-life balance. So for rapid context, we define flexible work or flexibility as essentially the perception of control that an employee has over their work and their life. And research has shown that flexibility is the key ingredient in maximising your chances for work-life balance. But what do we actually mean when we talk about flexibility? Anyone want to volunteer an answer? Well, these are some of the kinds of flexible work that people do. And they don't apply to all the same industries or all the same roles. Some of them are traditional approaches to flexibility, some you might not have heard of before. It's common now for flexibility to be used as a business tool. And research has shown that millennials will now be seeking flexible work as an option. So when you're looking for that first job or you're looking for a job that meets your needs, you will be asking what kind of flexibility do they offer. Of course, there's all these benefits for individuals as well. The biggest one, of course, within Australia is using it to manage family needs. Again, so what are these assumptions versus the reality of what actually happens? Here are some of the common misunderstandings about flexible work. So enforced flexibility is when an organisation is asking you to flex for their benefit. So if you think of good examples of emergency services who need their workers to work shift work, otherwise they can't operate, for health safety and other reasons, and to really be able to have that 24-hour service. So shift work in this situation is not flexible work. It benefits the company. not the individual. And in fact, we've done a little bit of work with emergency services, and they're talking about how they can flexibly deliver shift work. What can they do? And we're helping them think about it in a different way. So that's the employer-focused flexibility. Sorry, I should then talk about preferred. So preferred flexibility is when you're asking for flexible work. When you've realised it could be study, it could be that you want to travel, it could be a range of needs. So there's that employer-focused versus employee-focused. The next idea is that, the next misunderstanding is that there's flexible work versus flexible workplaces. Has anyone heard of those two different terms used? So flexible work is really about, flexible work is when the output is the same, but the way we get there is different. So think about study. Output's the same, you get the degree. Some people can do it online, some people do it in person. It's the same for jobs. So flexible work, you might be able to do that 5th day at home. Whereas a flexible workplace is really what Rapid Context is about, and that enables and nurtures a flexible work mindset. Flexible work is not the exception, it is the norm. So at Rapid Context, everything about our company is flexible. Every single person works flexibly. So when we're creating a project, designing it, it's all designed in the idea that it could be done anywhere, with the exception of client-facing things, although there's a lot of that we do via Zoom. The next common misunderstanding is that once you have it, you'll know what to do with it. Oh, sorry, this one. Flexible work versus load commitment. So a really dominant narrative that's throughout Australia and internationally is that you need to be at work. You need to be seen, to be promoted, to get those great opportunities. And the big consulting firms can be really heavy on this. But research shows that this is untrue and that hours at your desk or at the office are not a valid predictor of productivity or usefulness. So sometimes just because you're there, maybe you've worked till 9 o'clock, you'll get the odd jobs, you might not get the good jobs. And lastly, the misunderstanding that you will know what to do. So mainly people are seeking out work-life balance and flexibility when they've reached a crisis point in their life, or when there's a big event. Maybe you're looking after your unwell family. Maybe you've had kids. Maybe you're studying. All of those different reasons, all of a sudden you need to work flexibly. And you get it. Your boss says, yep, you can do it, sign off on it. So what do you do next? Like no one teaches, often organisations are really facing this implementation gap, that they have created a policy, that they understand that their workers need to do it, but they're not teaching them how to do it. So it's great, you've gone from 5 days a week to 3 days. Maybe your workload hasn't shifted, maybe your manager hasn't thought to change your workload. So there's really this space in organisations for training and mentoring and supporting those workers who want to work flexibly. And also about how to support a colleague if they're working flexibly. So where does it all fall apart? So when these things aren't implemented, when you don't get the support, when there's no one really shadowing you, you're not shadowing someone who's done it before, especially in Australia where it's not the norm yet. Sam, who is our CEO, she works flexibly. So we've got her to look up to help to give us the shortcuts. So really, miscommunication, mismanagement and unsupportive. So let's go back to that example. You finally said, yes, I need to go part-time, I need to work from 7 till 1 a.m. instead of 9 to 5. How am I going to do it? You've moved on from this crisis, you've got the answer, and now you've got this utopia of flexible work to give you work-life balance. But slowly but surely, it goes wrong. So there's that overwhelming, it's almost like when you decide to take on too many subjects at uni. All of a sudden you're overloaded, you don't know which priority goes first, you're out of step. And you buckle under pressure. And lots of people ask, is it worth it? Was it worth cutting down? Was it worth bending myself inside out just to achieve this non-achievable work-life balance? So, somehow, I'm very lucky, not just because she's my sister, but because I'm capable, to work for Rapid Context. And Harry really wanted me to come and talk about what it looks like for us. So I had a career before Rapid Context where I didn't get to work flexibly. I worked 9 to 5 and I did my masters after hours until I fell pregnant with my first child and managed to quickly finish those and move on to the next thing. So flexibility for Rapid Context means, well, I might give a, I can't remember if Sam talked about it, but we have an all-female workforce. We all work flexibly. Most of us have children or are studying. I work a 40-hour week and I've got 4 kids under 10 and I live in Pottsville, which is up near Byron Bay. We really utilise technology and we've figured out how it works to achieve high quality output. There's never compromise on getting the best practice done. I support the whole team from Pottsville. And this photo here, that's not her, that's one colleague with another colleague's daughter. So we have this set up in our office. Often people bring in their kids, and it's done in such a respectful way. It's not a disruption, and it's just the norm. People breastfeed in the office. We are only limited by our imagination in Rapid Context. If you think that there is something that we would need, then all you would have to do is ask Sam. And I should have put a photo in. I've got this really cool thing called the pod, and it's got a TV screen in it connected to, I think, is there games on it or Netflix? Lots of different things. Sam's got teenage kids, so she's got different needs that matched by a little kitchen. 70% of the staff hold a higher degree, such as a master's or a PhD, and many had high-level careers before they moved into Rapid Context. But really reached that crisis point where they needed flexibility, maybe have paused where they were in that company, and there was no space for them when they came back in. So they started looking elsewhere, and we were lucky to get them. This is us using Zoom, which is a favourite. So that's our conference room in the top corner. Me in my home office. Tegan zooming in from a car, and Catherine's in Melbourne.
Not while driving.
Not while driving. I think she was actually sitting in the passenger seat too. So how do we future-proof this? Flexibility is something we talk about all the time. I'm so passionate about getting it right, and I believe, like Sam, in having this workplace that allows people not just to work flexibly, but to do it meaningfully. No one wants to work flexibly and get the odd jobs. Like, we want to use these, especially these women, their brains are fantastic, their experience is fantastic. We have one woman who lives in Tasmania, who's quite high up in the company, and her version of flexibility is working a few hours a week. But her few hours are more powerful than not having them. So how do we make it work? We create a culture of trust, respect, empowerment, underpinned by the notion that work-life balance is not an end state or one-size-fits-all. There is no one that does the exact same version of flexible work. I've worked for Rapid Context for 4 years and there's been not 1 year that's been the same. My youngest daughter is 4 and a half, and the way that I worked flexibly when she was born is nowhere near what I do now. When she can go to preschool and I can do it during the day. I was one of those people that used to work 7 till 1 a.m. And I must say that that's not because Sam was asking me to do it or because the company needs it, it's because that's what I wanted to do. So how do we sustain flexible work, a workplace? Well, we have a flexible workplace, not just flexible work. We empower staff to find the work style that fits. And this is across location and hours of their work. We have a staff member that lives in the US, one that lives in Perth, Tasmania, I think south side of Sydney, Melbourne. We believe that flexible work styles are ever changing, and what works this year probably won't work next year. Sometimes it's what works this week won't work next week. No won't work next week, especially those that have little kids. We have open and ongoing communication with all staff about their needs and wants to ensure they're engaging in meaningful work that enables them to thrive. We give them the right support and tools to enable them to thrive in their choices. We try to make it easy for people to do the right thing. We're constantly evaluating the tools that we have and making sure that they work. If they don't work, we want to know. We implement an employee-centred view to project and task management. And we acknowledge and verbalise when things don't work. And often when we have employees come across from highly structured companies and organisations, it takes a while for them to figure out how can it possibly work. But it does. So here are some tips on optimising a flexible approach to work. Have a communication plan. So this is really based if you are working from home, working from a hot desk in another location. Have a communication plan. You need to maintain an open line of communication with your workplace. Having productive emails, just not email overload. Make the most of meetings. Use tools such as Zoom and get colleagues who might be in the meeting to send you anything you might have missed. Also have a backup in case the internet breaks down. Have an app on your phone. Get a good task manager app. To-do list and reminders are the backbone of any multitasking individual. Often when you work flexibly, you are multitasking at weird times. I might be in the car, in the pickup zone at picking my kids up from school. Some might be, I know one of our colleagues, Emma, does cycling, and she has responded to emails from the side of the mountain, which there was no pressure for her to do it, by the way, she was just very keen. Have a system for email management. Sam had a week where she was getting emails almost every 90 seconds. So you have to think about how you can sort through that, because that can be your undoing. If you work 2 days a week and you come back and have 1,000 emails to get through, how are you going to stay on top of it? How are you going to feel like you're not out of the loop? And that's that disconnecting. If you work from home, you need to have clear boundaries when you're in work mode. For me, I talk a lot about, 4 kids, lots of chatter, especially on school holidays. I get lots of notes shoved under my closed door from my 4-year-old asking for things. Work time is sacred, and that's different from number 6. Time marches forward regardless of distractions, and deadlines can be unforgiving. At Rapid Context, we're really respectful of other people's time. So if you sit down in front of your computer and get distracted on something else, you check an email, and all of a sudden you've moved so far from the task and you've lost your hour. And lastly, you need to acknowledge when it's not working. We have, for the first time ever, I have looked for some hot desking around Pottsville. Pottsville's very small, there's not a whole lot of hot desking around. You might have to go to Byron or some other ideal scenario out there. And reaching out to colleagues who do it. Recognise who else in the workplace has done something a bit similar to you and asking how they make it work. And there's just some further resources to leave up there for those that are interested. So any questions?
We can provide a copy, please.
Yeah, I can email this to you. I'll email to Harry. So while you're running over there, I don't want to give you the illusion that it's easy. Flexible work's not easy. Managing a group of flexible workers can be really challenging. They've all got really different problems. But I'm so passionate about getting at work. I value what they offer the business. I want them to feel successful. And that's what often I ask. I even asked Sam the other week, what makes her feel successful at the end of the day? What makes her excited and passionate to get to work? And we really care about that. We value that they've got time set aside to work.
Yeah. So thanks, Sarah. So
sorry, I zoomed through that. When I get passionate, I talk very quickly.
Yeah. So my question is, how far are we from 100% work in Australia?
Australia, we're a long way from it being. So Australia recognises, probably I think it was in 2014, that's a guess, the Fair Work Act came into play about that employees have the right to request flexible work. And so quickly, lots of these large organisations put together policies that enable you to go and ask for flexible work. But what they didn't do was that next step, which was training managers and supervisors and team leaders and HR to deal with those requests without it disrupting the whole organisation. So we're moving into that phase now where it's about finding the right training, the right approach, the right infrastructure to enable it to happen. And what's so difficult is that while that, you know, you often, we often call them the dinosaurs, but that the group of men who are largely in senior management, who have that dominant way of thinking that is not necessarily open to gender equity and flexible work modes, which ironically research shows that in the next 10 years all of those senior people will be going into retirement, and no one wants to retire in the old-fashioned way, which was you get to the point you retire. They want to transition out and have to use flexible work, which is what they've been pushing against so far. So there's a little bit of satisfaction in that. But so within Australia, until we have training and until we are really enabling managers to manage it properly, then there's lots of employees who won't see the full benefit, which is why I listened to a speech the other day on someone who had done research into millennials, this big research study, and that what that showed is, as a generation, you guys are seeking flexible work, you're seeking positions that offer flexible work, and so that's forcing companies to review what they're doing. But until they can move past policies and make them realistic and usable and easy to embrace, then unfortunately we're kind of stuck.
Can we say 5 years or 10 years? That's really this whole concept that we bring together, Sam and Sarah, is really looking toward the future. And really, I want to kind of, even though it might be just a personal opinion, 5 years, 10 years, but we want to see some sort of predictions in.
I would say 10 to 20 years.
Is that really?
Yeah, 20 years. If in 20 years we're not, I would be surprised if it wasn't, if at least we hadn't moved beyond managers having an understanding and that it was more about the whole system. But it's difficult to rush. We want to get it right, we want it to be the best practice, and that's why it's becoming unstuck, is because they've rushed to get these policies in place that don't make sense, and because they don't make sense, and because managers aren't using them, there's this constant, no one's using it because they're scared that they might get disadvantaged or seen as a, not a good employee. Sorry.
Yeah, good for me.
Maybe I'll come back in 5 years and be like, yay, we got it.
Microphone.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
So my question was, what do you think is the single most biggest challenge to flexible work?
To a flexible workplace? I would say the biggest disruptor to a flexible workplace is having an employee who doesn't support it. And it's that undermining of the core value. So it's really about having a common understanding across the whole workplace, and being able to, because it comes through in all of your interactions with your colleagues, as being respectful and appreciating that we all have that different approach to work. And also acknowledging that the reason, like when we're not working, we've got a good reason for not working. Yeah. Sorry, did that answer your question? Kind of. Sam, would you have a different?
No, I think it's it's attitudes. Attitudes are the challenge.
Yeah. And we're quite different at Rapid Context, but we have a flat structure, whereas bigger companies have a very pyramid, there's someone at the top and that hierarchy, whereas we're very flat and value everyone's voice. So it's different in those hierarchies where there's many, many different levels for undermining, and the CEO of a company might love the idea, but by the time you filter it down to the bottom, and that lower level manager who's like, and fails.
Hi. So I'm interested in when you have kind of enforced flexibility. How would you manage the work-life balance, especially when you have child and family who has different flexibility compared with you?
So when it's enforced flexibility, often there's a continuum of flexibility that you'll move along in your life. And when you start your career, often in a company where it's that enforced flexibility, especially if it's shift work or if it's that expectation that there's really no off time. And for graduates, that can be a problem. Often, I've heard of some companies that there is, they bring in 200 new graduates and there's 5 positions at the end of it. So the expectation, or that unconscious message is that you better work hard, you better prove to us that you are better than the 195 others. And so that's another kind of enforced flexibility that benefits the company because they're expecting you to flex towards them, to work late, to do all of that. So the question was, how would you deal with that?
How would you manage that, especially when you have child and other family members who doesn't have the same flexibility?
It's difficult. And that's why so many of these companies have such high turnover, of especially women, when they get to that stage where they've got families, where they have so many pressures that they are dealing with. It always starts with communication and seeing what the company has to offer, grabbing out the terrible policy, and seeing what they can do, asking other females who are in that company what they have done, there's nothing wrong with asking males. I've got I spoke to someone he was with the Air Force, and she said her best manager was a male, and he really helped her plan out her career. So communication, asking, and then quite often when you get to that stage in your life, you'll be seeking positions that offer flexibility. If they don't, unfortunately, a lot of companies though, it's a hard line, they don't offer it. And that's where it comes down to roles and industry. But interestingly enough, not all employees within industries want the same kind of flexibility. And it really depends on the phase of your life. And figuring out what's right for you. Like, what's your bottom line? What are you happy to go between? Is it that you just want to work 3 days? Is it that you've come up with this solution where you'll do emailing for 2 hours in the morning, come into work? Or is it that you're going to work from home? And just seeing what the company's open to. I mean, you look at Google or Virgin or those companies that are so ahead of the field with what they will offer. All comes down to the size of the organisation that you work with, and convincing them that you can do it. And then emailing me and saying, why don't we do it? How can I help?
From the presentation, I just understood that Australia falls under bottom 3 in terms of work and life balance. I'm just curious to know what could be the standard for saying like work and life has to be balanced. Like in investing companies, like lenders, they usually look for the debt equity ratio, like 1:2. Is there some kind of standard for work to life balance?
Sorry, what was the last bit?
Is there any standard for work and life balance?
The standard is working, if you're working full time, you shouldn't be working over 40 hours a week, but Australia tends to work 50 plus hours. And lots of it is invisible. Yeah, so that's the standard, so 50 hours, or 40, I think it's 38 hours is meant to be the norm of a full-time job, but most are, they like to work long hours. Sam, is there anything else you'd like to add to that? Any other questions?
Any other question?
Maybe one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you very much for Rapid Context to giving such a beautiful presentation. I'm Sanjay Latani. My question is, we are here, a lot of students, and they're doing some of them are just graduates. So what's your suggestion? Like, what sort of job we have to charge? Like, there's a lot of way to do like casual, part-time, and full-time as well. So what is your solution for us?
Your solution for your careers?
Yeah, like me and like other students as well.
I think it's such a personal preference. What suits this table isn't going to suit this table. What suits you isn't going to suit this woman here. So for your industry, it's about figuring out what your bottom line is. What works for flexibility? I can't really speak for IT and accounting, especially in the graduate phase, but I've got many people in those industries who have their own businesses, who work from home, who built their own offices to make it work for them.
I believe we are from the accounting and business background.
Yeah.
So if your answer is related to accounting and business, that would be great.
I can look into it. The only other thing that we forgot to mention is that that Harry and his team have been hugely helpful in helping us work flexibly. One of the biggest problems that we found is that we couldn't find a payroll system that allowed us to enter in flexible work hours. That it would constantly default back to that 9 to 5 system. And one thing that we offer staff is unlimited paid leave, and it would not allow that. The system would not accept it. And Harry worked closely with Sam to figure out, to build a system.
Yeah. And I think that, I think it was almost actually the attitude of our previous, almost like actually the bookkeeping company. It was really hard work to get. We said, no, we've got unlimited paid leave, we don't worry about this, we don't worry about that, and they just kind of couldn't really deal with it, like, because it was so unstructured in a way. And even I think, tracking hours, and that's been, as a small business, that's been something we've certainly, as we've grown, had to, it's been a steep learning curve, but, the beauty of having your own business and being small is that you can question everything, and luckily we are a group of very highly qualified and educated people who write policies for a living. So every policy we have absolutely researched what is sort of international best practice. We have written all of our policies collaboratively as a team, and a lot of it, even as a sort of director of the company, I realise how much it takes for me to like that communication. So to have that kind of leave policy, unless I am, like, people really want to be a part of the business, when they want to be a part of the business and feel really committed, then they won't abuse that kind of policy. So then it is really up to me to continue to foster the kind of organisational culture where people want to stay. So that's kind of my, that bit of responsibility. But yeah, those systems, our IT systems, all of that are what, for some people I think you just sort of say, it's too hard. I want an off-the-shelf project management software or, payroll or whatever. It just wasn't going to work. So yeah, that's been quite difficult. But yeah, thank you.
And another thing I was going to say, lastly, is my one of my pieces of advice for you is don't disregard life experiences. We work with all of these women who have amazing degrees, PhDs, masters, but that's not the full picture of them. And what you said, that is part of them, but it's their experience that sits on top of that, and seeing the whole person. We don't just see Sam as someone who is our boss. We see her with her kids. We see the things that happen outside of work, and we want her to bring all of that, and that's the same across all the staff. If it means they need to bring their kids to work, so be it. If they're happy with it, we're happy with it. So don't disregard other people's life skills, life experience, just because they might not have had the same career pathways as you. I have no doubt that everyone in this room will have leadership roles, whether you're a team leader or a supervisor, maybe you'll end up being CEO of your own company. The qualification is really important, but that's the starting point. It won't just stand alone.
Thank you. And I think just one more thing to add. I guess for a lot of students looking for work, I really like what Sarah just said. We yourself, don't write a CV for us. Write a CV like a storyteller, just like the previous speakers. About your life, about your skills, about your families, about where you come from. And we want to hear it. We want to see who you are, not you telling us what we want to see, right? So, thanks, Sarah and Sam. Thank you very much.
That's the end of the fourth session. Unfortunately, we don't have the class, but we will have paper for the next session. We're going to start the afternoon tea. We're going to start the next session, which is about Power BI, whether you have it. It's fine. We're going to show you how it works anyway. So next session, we're going to start at 3:30. So you have like 40 minutes to have a break. Thank you.
इसके बाद मेरा मेन मेरे काम का जो लेकर मतलब नहीं है ना
Good question. Thinking about family plan what? Sometimes you feel like too much person, next day you got to do you cannot go back.
So we're basically using
There are four floors. Not on the same floor. Very short. I think they're just like outside the window. Is that like joints? Yeah. I think they just got one floor. Yeah. It's standard for both of them.
You think he's gonna walk by himself?
Yeah, that was
Ready? Okay. Ready? Oh, yeah, it should be. You should hold it too. Pop it up.
They won't be ready until 4. Alright, I'll pull them now and then pull over. Thank you. Then we can go back to your car. I don't know if you just want to drive it out and swap back to your car.
I said I would take care of it.
Yes. Okay. Pull back to
Just quickly, it doesn't say if it's not paid, what you can do currently make sure you want to share.
What she said is the first time I met her, she was like, don't speak, don't move, don't shift on your feet, and that is
I think I had the other one. Don't like see funny. Don't like see funny.
she's like, so, yeah, stuff that I always took her yesterday.
Every time they say I see funny. So maybe. I think probably is.
She's giving me ideas.
No, first point. But the almost lady. So that means.
That's a fact. I know that's a fact. I just go my way, going weird. I'm just looking at zero, going like, No frustration in the heart or the body. Then I will tell you, it's not I go up and go and go forward. Just do it. No frustration.
Because maybe that makes me hungry.
Well, I will never come on doing it. I'm honest. Next Monday, shall we start? Very hard. We ask clients to work with us on Monday and Saturday.
It's just depending on the area.
That you need more of a step back. From 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, and we work.
It sounds like I feel like a question, but it doesn't sound like
it's a statement, but it sounds like a question. I wasn't there.
It's not the question. It's not the question.
why I'm getting a pencil. I asked her once, twice, I think, once.
You feel it cold? Chen?
It's cold. Yes. No mouse.
Okay, we're going to start the last session. It's about Power BI. Power BI is a part of Office Suite by Microsoft. Power BI is a great tool to make everything more visualized. So we saw the video, we can do the usual profit and loss spreadsheet, that's what we need. But when clients look at those, they have no idea what that means. Or some does, but some clients has no idea what that means. So we use Power BI so that it's very visualized. They can see how much profit they made this year and stuff. So this time we have Eva here and Teddy. Eva is part of Team Evo, we call. She does a lot of new introduction, and also she is responsible to create a report for clients using Power BI. So some of you guys maybe used before, some of you guys probably never heard of it. But you can just get an idea what Power BI can do. And just for introduction for had Zero QuickBook Online. I think MIOB Cloud as well, but not everything. So we had a lot of clients on Zero, so we connect Zero account and the Power BI. What that means is you don't export data and import. They will import every day. So if you do some work in Zero, on the next day in Power BI it starts with it. So now I pass to Eva, as if you can set the Power BI.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. And my name is Eva, and this is my assistant today, Kelly. And I know it's already like 3:30, and it is a very long day, and I hope you're still awake and not falling asleep. So at the beginning, people told me I'm the last one and the last presenter for today. I'm really upset. I think, oh my god, maybe people will laugh, maybe people will fall asleep. But suddenly I feel very relaxed because this software I'm going to introduce is very interesting, exciting, and I hope everyone can feel the same excitement as I did when I first touched this software. So the software I'm going to introduce is called Power BI. So what is Power BI? I think let's explain its name first. Yes, we understand what is power, and yeah, don't ask me the question why it's not called Powerful BI. I don't know. Maybe it's just like the simple word. So we understand power, but what is BI? Actually, BI stands for Business Intelligence here. So I think at least everyone here should at least heard of it and know business intelligence seems very advanced to us, right? But what is business intelligence? According to Wikipedia, business intelligence actually comprises all the strategies and technologies related to data analysis. Yes, of course, it is related to business. And it can give us the historical, current, and even predictive views of our business. So based on my understanding, business intelligence is just very broad conception, and it relates to everything related to data analysis to business. So this is business intelligence, and Power BI is just a very simple and easy tool for us to help us to do the data analysis related to business intelligence. So let's give a very simple example. Let's say if my boss Harry just wants me to present him a report showing how our sales, behaved in the last 6 months. I mean, everyone here should be able to do that, to generate a report by Excel, right? It's very simple, right? No, it's not simple enough. We want it to be more simple. For example, if Harry wants that to be generated every month, what should I do? I need to log into Zero. Let's say we are using Zero. I need to log into Zero and generate the report and jam the data into Excel, right? And then let's say I generate a report, I generate a chart, the graph, and tailor it into what Harry likes. And I need to do that every month. What I actually want is the report can be generated automatically. I don't need to do anything. I just set up front. And then the data will flow into the software automatically. And I just show the report to Harry. It's like, Harry, today is like that. That day is like that. Okay? So this is the thing I want. And another thing is, I want it to be more simple, to be much simpler. Like, I want to know our current ratio, I want to know our sales. I just ask the question to the report, and the report can automatically give me the figure, not I need to go into Zero and generate a report. So is there any software that can deal with it? Yes. So that's the reason why actually we are using Power BI instead of Excel, because Power BI can give us the information very easily and just in 1 minute. Oh, it's not working? Oh, it's working. Okay. So I just used a sentence from Power BI itself. With Power BI, the proof is in the simplicity. So let's see how simple it is. Power BI, we can use it anytime, anywhere. So they they can import data into Power BI and convert it into insight just in 1 minute. And it can connect with hundreds of data sources, just like Fuzuki just said, not limited to the accounting software, also like other kinds of softwares, and I will show you later. And it can give us very beautiful report, and we can just tailor it whatever we want. And it has hundreds, I think thousands, I'm not quite sure, very different, very many different kinds of reports. Sorry. And another very interesting is, if I subscribe to Power BI with my email, if I am the business owner, if there is any changes in my business, I will get an email notification anytime. So I can understand my business very, very well. So actually, it's you can drill into the details just by click on your phone. So you can use Power BI by web and also by phone. So it's very user friendly. And you can share the report with your colleague, and you can collaborate with each other and work on it simultaneously. So I hope you have already felt the excitement, and if not, I will show you how to do that and how to generate a report and how Power BI behaves with the link of Zero. Because today I will only show you how it works with Zero, and if you are very interested, you can investigate yourself and see how it works with other software. Okay. So let's move to Power BI. So this is just a dashboard you will see when you just open the Power BI. Actually, you can feature your favorite dashboard when you just open the Power BI, and I will tell you how to do that later. As Kelly just showed, is that icon. Okay. So we open Power BI, and we can see it actually gives us a lot of graphs here. And it gives me some graphs, give me some trends, and also give me some figures here. Did I do it? No. Actually, Power BI does it itself. When I import any data into Power BI, it generates it automatically. So let's investigate it from the left top corner. So Teddy, please click there. As Fuzuki just said, it is a software developed by Microsoft. So actually, if you are interested in it, you just go to your Microsoft account and go to the store and look for Power BI. It's completely free, and yeah, there is some premium account, and it has some more advanced functions, but we will not touch it now. So it's very simple. You just click into it, and you will get your Power BI, and you can investigate yourself later. Okay, let's move back. So now let's talk about how do we get data from Zero. So if you want to link anything from Zero, you just click in Get Data. And you can find certain 4 things here: databases, file, services, and my organization. Now let's just focus on services, which contain hundreds of apps here. And Teddy will click into the service contact text. The reason why we don't click the very yellow one there is because if you click there, it will give you the read-only data, so don't click there. And so you will see there are a lot of apps here, and you can get data from them just as I said. And for example, you can get it from Google Analytics and Microsoft Project Online. You must have heard of it, I hope so. And now let's find Zero. So you can search Zero in the search bar. Yeah, and just get it now. And just be careful. I think you need to log in Zero in separate windows, and then you will not like log in here because let's say I have several accounts of Zero. If you log into another Zero account but you want to link Power BI with another one, it will confuse Power BI. So don't do that. You just log into the exact Zero account at that. So next you need to name your company. Let's say company ABC. Okay. And next here. Just click sign in. Because I don't think I have logged in 0. Yes. And if you haven't logged in 0, it will show up here. You can choose to log in here, but if you have logged in at that, it will not show up like this. So it takes several minutes to import data from 0, so I will not do it now. I have already imported what I want from 0, like before this session. So let's close this and move back. Let's move back to dashboard, which will show you after you import any data from 0. Okay, so this is the dashboard. So let's start from my workspace. Just click the workspace at top, sorry. And you can see there are 4 sections here. Dashboards, reports, workbooks, and data sets. So now we will not touch the workbooks, we will only touch dashboards, reports, and data sets. The difference between dashboard and report, because you can see the dashboard actually is a kind of like different tiles combined into one report. The difference is dashboard is what will show in your phone app, and dashboard is very live, and dashboard is the first thing you will see when you log into Power BI. So, and reports is more detailed. If you want to know something in details in dashboard, you just click into it and it will link to the reports automatically, and I will show you later. And data sets is the one you will need to use when you want to refresh your data or schedule your refresh, and I will mention about it later as well. So let's go back to dashboard of the demo company 1. So let's talk from top one by one. As you can see, there are quite a lot of squares here. All the squares are called tiles in Power BI. And if you want to edit any tiles, and I'm not sure if you can see it or not, there are 3 dots here. It's called more options. So you click here, and you can see there is some options here. And if you want to edit it, you just edit the report. If you want to drill into details, you can go to the report. So can you just click the go to the report? And you can see it goes to the related report, and these are all the information related to that figure. Let's go back to the dashboard. And let's say you don't want to show 0 at top. You want to show it, let's say, a little bit below. How do we do it? It's very simple. We just drag it. So it's very flexible. And let's say if we want to add some more tile, how do we do it? There is a little plus sign there called add tile. So you just click into it. Actually, we can add quite a lot of things into it. Let's add a very interesting thing. Let's add a video from YouTube. So we just click video. And next. And then you just go to YouTube and find, let's say, find a video for potato account. Just add potato account. The reason why we do this is we want to get the link of this video. So just click your favorite video. Copy the link in the URL object and paste it in Power BI. Paste it in the content here. And you can name it as title, as display title and subtitle, and name it as yes. And if you want to show some subtitle in this video, you can type it as well. And let's just type. Eva is oh my god. Eva is it's okay. Let's apply it and see how it looks in Power BI. And it disappeared. Let's go to the bottom of this report and you will find it out. See, this is the related report. So it jumps there directly. It's a bit fancy, right? But I feel it's very fancy. Okay, let's go back. And next.
I'm so slow.
Time changes.
Can you get rid of that video?
No, we will show it in phone as well later. How time flies. Okay.
Quick.
Let's
I zoom it in.
let's move to the next icon called usage metrics. So you click on it and see what happened. So actually, it tells us how this Power BI is utilized by its users. You can see how many views per day and how many unique viewers per day. The reason is we want to know if our client likes it or not. If you can see they never view it, there is like seldom viewers every day, which means maybe our client is not using it at all. So we may ask them, oh, what's wrong with it? And is there anything I can do for you? Something like that. So it's very useful function. Let's go back. And then there is another icon called view related. If you click into it, it will give you all other related things, such as reports or the data set. Let's go back. And another one called feature. So as you can see, when I log into Power BI, this is the first thing shown in the dashboard because I have set it as the feature. If I disable it and feature another thing, when I open Power BI, it will show you another thing up front. And then next is favorite. So it's like a lot of other softwares did. We can favorite some reports. And if I favorite it, it will go to the favorite folder at left. So you click into it and you will see how many reports you have already favorites. And next function is the one I mentioned in the advantage. It's called subscribe. So you click into it and you can enter your email address. Let's say I enter like this is the email address I use to log into it. Let's say I subscribe the Power BI into this email address. If there is anything changes in my business, I will get the notification. So it's a very useful function. So managers or owners will get all the changes of this business at their fingertips in 1 minute. And next called share. I also mentioned it in the advantage as well. It's called share the report or share the dashboard with your colleagues and you can collaborate together. So it's another very useful function. Now let's move to another one, which is a bit exciting one, is web view or phone view. Let's say you want to generate a report and show that to your boss. Let's say, Harry, I want to show you a report. Currently, I only have two choices. Whether I send him by email and Harry need to log into his email and open that by Excel or let's say PDF. It's not live and it's not user friendly. Or I can print it out and give to him personal, like by person. But it's not user friendly. It's not environment friendly as well. But now you can log into Power BI by your phone. Let's click into phone view. And this is a phone, and you can edit how Harry will see it. So let's say we want to move the video at top. How do we do it? We just find the square, find the tile, and pin it on the phone at top. So you can see that it appears. Once you open the Power BI by your phone, you will see it. And next, let's move, let's say zero icon, next. So you pin it. But I have changed my mind. I want to move zero at top. So we just simply drag it. It's very easy and simple, as it said in the advertisement. Let's go back to the web view and investigate some more functions. And you can see there are three small dots at right top corner inside the web view, and there are some more functions there, and it is very obvious, so I will not introduce here. And if you are interested, you can just go there. It's very simple. So that's pretty much everything I want to talk about in the dashboard. Is there any question? No? Okay, let's move on to next, which is the report. So let's go back to my workspace. And see the report for demo 1. So click into it. So can you move that bar? Top first. Thank you. So as you can see, there are some reports already generated here. Cash, customers, suppliers, etc., etc. So these are automatically generated by Power BI as well. I didn't do anything. And let's look one by one. First is cash. I think cash is the king. Cash is what our customers or our clients concern most. So they want to know how much they have. They want to know how much cash in, how much cash out per day or per month. So this section, this report actually tells us every details what we want to know. We can see there is a big graph here. It shows us the cash in, the cash out, and the trend of our closing balance. Let's say we want to show the trend for May 2018. How do we do it? It's very simple. We just filter it. There is a filter. It's a bit small. Can you click the three lines under under the yellow? Click here. Under the yellow thing. Yes, click there. So it's a bit bigger. So let's click. If we want to show the May 18, we just choose it in the filter. If we want to show March, we just click March. So it will change. It will give us the details automatically. And let's say you don't want to show the total cash. You want to show every individual bank account. You just choose it by another filter function called account name. So let's say you want to show the balance and the cash in, cash out for business bank account. You just do it by simply clicking into it. And another one, we click another one. So you see everything has changed. It's obviously we have no money in the other account. If you don't click anything, it will show us the total amount. And next, if we want to see the trend, it's a good graph. But what about we want to show the details? The detailed figure, the detailed data, we can see it on the right. There is a table there, so we can see it like very clearly. And actually, it flows with the filter as well. We can change the bank account. We can change time period. So it's very, very exciting and interesting. Okay. So this is pretty much everything I want to talk about in cash. Any question? Yes?
Hang on, microphone.
So actually, there's no data.
Yes,
there is nothing there. But
so you are doing a user and like after the few months you have a historical data and then you can use VR.
yes. So I will talk about it later. The data will be refreshed into Power BI automatically, and based on your setting, based on the frequency you have set it. So it's actually updated automatically. If you have any data in the business, you will have the report like this. If nothing, then nothing. But you will still have this function there. Yeah. Okay.
And it's all for staff as well if you have questions. Because if we don't ask questions, I'll assume that everyone knows about Power BI. And
then I will not be the only one to generate a report, right?
this is going to be the only reporting tools that we're going to use. So you've got to pay attention.
So next, let's move on to next customers. So when you move to customers, you will see there is a map there. Actually, it's a very fancy one. By this map graph, we will show where this is customer, yes, where our customer location is. And if I want to choose an individual customer, like Teddy is doing, let's say you want to choose let's choose a food one, DIISR, yes. And you can see where it's located in, and if you want to enlarge this map, you just double click it, and it will be enlarged. And you can see how much they owe us, and the amount due by invoice date within 30 days. We can see there is an invoice due in the period around 3rd of June to 10th of June. But the detail, we can get the details by moved our mouse to that bar. And you can see the details appear here. So actually, the invoice amount is 3,850 and the date is left out. So you can have every details there, and you can have an overview as well. So if you don't click into any customer, it will give us the total all your customer look like, and the total amount due, and all the invoices will due in 30 days. And next, let's move on to suppliers. It's very similar to our custom, but it's very similar to customer side. And you will have a map, you will have a filter, you will have like the top supplier by outstanding balance, and you will also have bills details there as well. And I have think about why do we need a map here, and I gave myself an answer, and if you have any better answer, just let me know. Because we want to consider our logistics. So we want to know if we can have a better supplier be nearer to us, then we may be paid less shipping fee, something like that. So it's better to know more details than nothing, right? And if you have more, like better answer, just let me know. Okay. So it's very similar to customers as I said, and let's move on to next, inventory. So in this inventory, it depends on your client type. Some clients will have inventory, will have items, but some clients will not. It depends. So if they have the inventory, you can move to this report and show the details there. You can see you need to choose from transaction type whether you choose purchase or sales. Can you just choose nothing and show and see what happens? If you choose nothing, there will be a reminder here ask you to select either sales or purchases. If you don't choose, Power BI will be confused. So let's say you choose purchase. You can see what you purchase. There is only one item there, and you can also filter it by time period, by checking category, by let's say by region, and you can see the purchase sales by customer, the total amount, and also the monthly purchase or sales by items. And this is the graph actually show you the percentage. And let's move to sales. In sales, you have more items there, so it's a bit more fancy, and you can see it more clearly. And let's say we want to choose the period as April 18, and want to see the region, what happened in North. And you can see, oh, there is only one item in this period and for this region. So you can drill into every details you want, and the Power BI will tell you everything you want to know. So this is the inventory. Let's move to next, balance sheet. So actually in balance sheet report, it's just interpret your balance sheet figures into some graph or into some detailed tables, and we'll let you know the overview and the details at the same time. So in the graph at left, you will see the graph, the bar chart here. You can see there are 3 different colors. It actually stands for 3 elements with asset, liability, and equity. So you will know it like at first glance. And at right, you will see the detailed figures there. And you can see there is another filter called financial year. You can see the financial year 2018. If there is any figures for the other financial year, you can see it as well.
Quick question, Eva. I think I just stepping in case some of you might fell asleep. It's the last section, so I want to entertain people a little bit. Do you see that this report looks like a 21st century report? It does? Right? it's kind of like comparing when first Apple phone, the iPhone released, compared with the old sort of, Motorola phone, right? It's a 21st century look and feel. And how often we see it? I know that you haven't been to workplace, or some of you haven't. But you do see people doing reports and things like that at uni. You probably see the lecturer present some sort of fancy Excels and some chart and graphical things. They didn't have this look. Right? So in order to get this kind of work done and look and feel, I would ask Eva to do it in Excel, as you just explained. So you've got to download the report from zero, download the Excel, and do a lot of formulas and manual works, and yet I will guarantee that if I go in, I will find a mistake. Right? With both Teddy and Eva here, I guarantee if I go in, I will find something not right about it. Why are we driving into this sort of system rather than the look and feel and knowing that this is the future? For a number of reasons. I think, first of all, Eva mentioned time saving, time money, right? Saving, efficiency. But for a lot of accountants in the room who've been doing reports for customers and report to people like us, one of the most stressful things is really not making mistakes. Right? Because you work with Excel, there's millions chance that you could mistakenly delete the cells or a formula that you put in, a sum that missing the last line. How often this happens? So making mistakes means you lose the confidence in front of the customers or creditors. If it happens to be a customer that is really relaxing and easygoing, you might say, yeah, go back and fix it and send it to me tomorrow morning. But some customer might not like it. They might say, sorry Harry, that's enough. I think you guys should be superstar. You spent 5 years at unis and CPA qualified. Why are you making these simple mistakes? And yet people don't understand that it's really hard work to get all the data into Excel and manually work it out to this sort of data. So by using the, and you can see all the data that flowed straight from the accounting software into this tool. We didn't even do anything. Like you are telling, they didn't do anything. All that report are generated by Power BI. So there's no room for mistakes there. At least with the formulas and doing all that sums and things, right? So, and even at our firm, we're quite advanced with reportings and we're really driving the technology. We haven't released this to our customer yet, believe it or not, because we're still working on beta version right now. We only have about 5 to 10 customers that we are building this sort of report for them, because we want them to see what's the difference between the next levels and what's the difference between having the graphics and all that business intelligence plus the simple P&L and balance sheet come up zero. And once that 10 customers come back within the next few weeks saying, yep, I'm happy, I think that is time saving, less cost first, it's eliminated all the human error, then we have confidence in you, and you can spend more time like Eva, spend in front of the board and, pitching about their financial with confidence. Right? So it's still very early stage, so don't think that all the staff here are experts. They are still learning. And I'm pretty sure that if you pitch someone from one of our team and ask them to do all this report, they will be stuck as well. So they're all in the learning phase. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise, because like I said, we're all learning as well. Keep going, Eva, sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. Okay. So, like Harry just said, the advantage, there are a lot of advantage using these things. And I will show you the most exciting things at last. I haven't told you yet. At last, I will show you the most exciting things for this Power BI. Okay, let's keep going, and I will go back to that later. Let's keep going to the profit and loss. Actually, it's similar to balance sheet. It gives you the chance of the profit and loss, and also the details as well. So it's also, you can filter it by financial year, and you can see the monthly sales and monthly expense, how it looks like. in different months, and also what's the top expense accounts here. And you can see we spend quite a lot of money in Regent's salaries, and you will be able to see if that works or not. And another thing is you can have the table, just like you can have from zero. It can give you the details as well. So let's move on to performance. Actually, performance is a bit similar to profit and loss, but it gives you a more straight view of your performance. You can see in different months how much you have earned and how much is your expense, and what's the net profit of your business for these several months. And you can see it's not that good, and maybe my business will like get bankrupt very soon. I need to think some ways to keep it. Okay, let's. Red column is for negative net profit. So you can see for out of 4 months, 3 of them is red. It's really not good sign. Maybe I will fire some employees. Okay, just kidding. Let's go. Let's keep moving. Let's go to the health. So previously, all I show is actually what you can get from zero. But now what I show you is not. You need to do some calculations. And Power BI will do it for you. You will see some ratio there. There are current ratio and total liabilities to equity ratio, something. And you can have a lot of ratios here, and you will see the trend as well. To be honest, I cannot remember exactly what current ratio means or what's the equation for it, but I will know it with the help of glossary. So you click into glossary, and actually it's like a library. It tells you what everything stands for. It tells you what current ratio is, what total liability to equity ratio is. So Power BI is very thoughtful. It helps me a lot. And now let's move to action items. So we have to tell our manager or owners everything they need. But another thing is we have to give them the reminder what you need to do, and so what you need to action. For example, you have some unreconciled transactions there, or you have some bills to pay, etc., etc. So it's not only give you what happens already, and also give you what you need to do soon. So that's everything generated automatically by Power BI. Now, my question is, if I need tailored a report, what should I do? How do I generate a report I want? So before we move to that, is there any questions?
I'm looking at this. It looks great and all. I'm just thinking, would this make over-reliance on the software? And is there like any controls that you can put in place to make sure that the reports generated are actually accurate or?
Oh, okay. Yes, I know it. So let's just like Harry just said. So with the report, you can minimize your mistake, which means the Power BI, what Power BI generated, actually much more exact, much more correct than what we did, like manually. This is first. Another thing is, when I generate a report, I always go back to zero and check if it actually matches the details. But to be honest, I have checked quite a lot of reports, and there is no mistake so far. And another thing is, you can only view the details, view the data from Power BI. You cannot like do anything there. You cannot change the sales amount. So what Power BI said is the real thing. You cannot do some manually things there. And last thing I want to say is, just I told you we can share the dashboard or share it to someone else, to our colleagues, and I can also limit their access just as other accounting software. I can make them read-only, so they will not randomly do something to mess up what I did. So hopefully I have answered the question, or not.
I want to add one more thing, so maybe you have them with, because I think this is more concerned about the data flow between the two software. So if you would download the form now from Zero and put it in Excel, it's a manual work. Right? It's a manual work. How Zero has connected to Power BI using a method called API. What it means is if you go on Google and search, what it means is the two software actually mirror to each other. And this technique is just like I mentioned last time, blockchain. Whatever data in Zero will be exact data in Power BI. So there'll be no room for mistake. Because the data between the two software are connected.
So if you make some changes in your software, do you need to kind of update your reports on this?
I'll completely update for you.
I will mention it later.
So whatever you, like say, if you raise a big sales $1 million in Zero, straight away, probably need a bit of time dating to update it. But you don't have to do anything in your dashboard report sheet. You would have completely update for you. So that's a beauty for customers, and you see the access on the form. For someone who like working on-site all the time, doesn't even have computer with him, and he wants to see the sales figure for today, because yesterday, or this month, this last month. Rather than contact the accountant, send an email, open up his phone, all the data are connected with Zero, and it's reliable. Because, like I said, there's no room for mistake. The two data are mirror each other. Cannot make mistakes there. Question? Anything?
I was wondering, is this software only connected with Zero or any other software?
So like I said, like before, maybe can you just go back to the Get Data? There are hundreds of data softwares there. You can connect not only with Zero, also any My Online, and there are hundreds of apps there, and you can have a look later. You can see. So I haven't counted, but I logged into the Power BI website, and they say it's standard. So it should, yes, it must be able to satisfy your requirement.
So you can see that if you are working on, say, a project with me, and you've got people from finance, and you've got people from marketing, people from HR, and we want to present, say, updated project status report to the board, or to the project board. And so all we're doing is connecting Zero. We're connecting project management software. We're connecting marketing. You can see Mailchimp there. Right? We can connect CRM. All that data flow into the dashboard report. We tell you all about that project, not just financial. But you can see sales, you can see HR, you can see KPIs, workflows, and all that thing in one report. Right? So this Power BI is not just limited for finance and accounting and Zero. It's everything. Any other questions before we go? You like it? If you would have this license on the CV, I guarantee that you would have the job. People would like it.
Hey, the one question is, if you have specific KPI for a specific area, such as the KPI for sales, could Power BI realize in monitoring and measuring the sales KPI, and how could it do it?
So actually, there is no, as far as I know, I'm not the expert in Power BI, but if they can only present what happens in business, and you can set a line there and to remind you it reaches any target or not, and I will show you later. And you need to like tell if it is too high or too low, too risky or not. It can only show you the data, the figures, as far as I know.
Yeah, so I think there's two aspects there. Number one, there's Power BI and Zero, and Power BI is still very new. The software is still sort of improving, developing itself. Every few months you see new features. The connection between Power BI and Zero still got some issues, small issues. So there's certain area in Zero that you cannot build data into Power BI yet. So to answer the questions about KPI, if we set a sales or budget target in Zero, supposedly we should be able to see actual gross budget or sales in Power BI, right? Currently you cannot, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible. You will be able to see it in the future. However, there are always solutions to that problem, right, Eva? If I ask you guys to build that report still, what I then would do is really connect Power BI to my CRM software, for example. And my CRM software should be able to build in some sort of sales target. Right? I want to sell 100 of this chair for this month, and I set all the group my KPI from the CRM software into Power BI. Same time I drive the data from Zero into Power BI, and I can build the whole chapter. So you can see this is the target for sales, 100 chairs per month. Did I sell 100 chairs or did I sell 200? Right? Answer the question.
So, as Harry has said, let's wait, let's see what will happen. And I can partially realize your query, but it's a very simple way, and I will mention it when I generate the report. Okay. Any other questions? So let's move on. The time is a bit limited, and I will show you quickly how to generate the report. So while they are doing it, I just give you a brief introduction. So when you want to generate a report, there are three things you need to decide first before you really generate a report. The first thing is which report you want. Like, I want a bar chart, or a line chart, or anything else. So first you need to decide which type of the chart. The second thing is what data you need. You will need sales, or bank balance, or cash in, cash out, etc., etc. And the third thing is where the data is from. So in order to realize the second target, you need to be a bit familiar with how Power BI works, and I will show you later on. So are we ready to create a report? So let's move on to demo 2, because demo 2 has a bit more data, so it will be you will see more data there, and the report will be a bit more beautiful. So let's move on to demo 2 and create a new report. The way we do it is click into the edit report so that we are able to edit it, and click the little plus at the right bottom corner. Click here, and there is a new report. There is a new page. So you want to create something there, and you want to make this a page bigger or a bit longer. You can see it's a bit small here. We can always change it in the format icon here. You click into it and change the page size there. So you can change it, and let's make it a bit longer and make custom in the type. And type, let's say 6,000 in the height. So you can see it's very long. But it's too narrow, and we want to make it a bit bigger, so we go to view and make it in the actual size. So when I put the reports there, you will see it's very big and clear enough. And as you can see, we can also tailor our page background and give the page information there. And let's mention it. If you are interested in it, you can mention it later. So you can investigate later, sorry. And let's go back. Let's generate 3 simple reports to save time. The first one I want to generate is what clients concern most, is how do we show the cash. So we want to generate a similar report as we just saw. So we want to know cash in, cash out, and closing balance. So the first thing we want to know is what graph we want. So we want a bar chart and make a line chain there. So we choose the suitable graph there. Let's choose that one, line and clustered column chart. Sorry, I cannot see very clearly. You just click it, and it will appear in the report automatically. Next, let's choose the data. I just mentioned we want to know cash in, cash out, and closing balance, and I also need to choose one data for the x-axis. So we need to choose, let's say we want to know by month. So we choose everything we need. We go to bank statement, because everything I need is from bank. So we go to bank statement in fields, and choose cash in, cash out, and maybe month. And another is closing balance is in the bank statement daily. So we choose closing balance. And next is we need to move the data into related line. So let's click the report first. Click the graph, sorry, and check it there. So we can see we want the cash in and cash out in the column values, but we want to move the closing balance into a line. So we drag closing balance into line values. So you can see. Sorry, we already put it there. Okay. So click the report and let's filter the month first. Let's filter the month. As you can see, there is something there. So we there are three type of filter. It's basic filtering, advanced filtering, top end. Now we just choose advanced filtering. We want to only show the items when value contains 18. So it shows us how the graph looks like in 2018. So we apply filter. It's like this. And let's filter the closing balance maybe. Filter the closing balance. It's all. So yes, that's absolutely what I need. Maybe you just delete the closing balance and check in again. Okay. Closing balance, delete it. And check in again. So you right-click the closing balance and drag it to line values. Oh, it's not showing up. It's a bit weird.
Close it again.
Yeah.
Don't you just drag the item directly to the record or
so you cross it again?
Yeah.
What about you cross it, click?
And from there, you drag the item to the line and what's the
No, you run it to the line value. You don't run it to the line. You run it underneath the line.
No, it should be there.
Sorry, it's my fault, guys, I think. I'm sorry, Alright, keep going.
Okay. So let's choose another. Let's choose another visualizations. Maybe choose the one beside this one you just choose. Beside the one. Choose visualizations. The graph.
Oh, okay.
The graph, the one beside it. Choose the one. So let's redo it. Let's put cash in, cash out, and none. And check the closing balance to line values.
Alright, it was my fault, guys, sorry. Yep.
It's a bit weird. I never faced that before. Maybe we will try again later if we have time. So we just make it here. So it's a bit different from what I need. If we have time, if it happens in daily life, I will investigate why it's there. But we don't have time now. Normally it will not happen. Maybe there's something wrong with the data. I'm not quite sure, so I don't make comments anymore. Sorry. So let's move on to the next graph I want. So the next one I want to show the sales change in the last 6 months. So the line change, so we want to show the line change, so we choose the line change chart. And we want to show the sales. So just remember, if you want to show anything related to 5 elements in accounting, assets, liabilities, revenue, expense, and equity, right? Yes. And you need to go to trial balance. So you go to trial balance and find the sales, monthly sales. And also, you need to choose month end. And also, yeah. And then you need to filter it. You can see it's from 2016 to 2018, but what I need is put into month and only show 2018. So we need to filter year first. We only choose, you just month end, you choose year, yes, this one. And let's move to, click it again, and move to basic filtering and choose 2018 only. Okay, after you choose this, you are able to remove it from the access there, so it will not be here to bother you, and remove cover as well. So you can see it appears by month now and only shows 2018. So like I just said, you need to decide what graph you need, what data you need, and where the data sits. So this is what I need, absolutely what I need, and it works, good, and let's move on to the next. The next thing I'm going to show a bit more fancy one is, let's delete this and move on to the next. Next, I want to show how much I have already earned from a specific customer. I want to show all of them. It must be a really, really long graph, but I want to add in a filter as well. But I don't want to filter it at the very beginning. I want to filter it as I go. So let's make it. First, I want to generate a report first. I want to generate a bar chart and choose the total sales and all the customer name. So we go to invoices, choose account name. That tells me the client name. And then the total sales, which is the total here. The total sales must equal to the total invoice. Hopefully we don't use that money, but we just want to show the total invoices we have raised for every individual customer. So you can see this is a very, very long graph. As I said, I want to put a filter there as well. So we just put a filter graph there. Visualization, choose filter. Yes, click it. And if there is something, yes, it's there. So I want to filter by the total sales. So we choose filter, choose total there. Go to invoices and total. Okay. And you can see there is a little thing there, which we can drag it, move it, and to see the amount we want to show. Let's say I only want to show the customer name that the total sales currently is bigger than 10K. So how do you do it? So you need to, maybe you can type the data, type 10,000 there, it's much simpler. And you can see, it gives us automatically.
Quick question here. So I guess people ask why you guys doing this, right? End of the day, it's all customers. What is really make it easy for them. So if they have filter tools like that with working back, you would imagine if they open up their phone, right? They don't want to have to go in and type a lot of things in there, or make a request, like a command. They just want touch screens and working. They want to see all the customers that they've made more than 20,000 for the last 3-4 months. And in that form, you can see that they grab that bar, and the time comes up with all the names. They want to see all these sort of the highest value customers in the last 6 years. They can do it from their phone now. Right? So it's all customer driven. It's not the report that I need to see myself, but it's actually the end user, which is the customers. And that's why we have that filter function. But you can see that, right? The bars where user friendly, and the customer going to open their phones and they can work out their PIN and they get the data they want.
Yes. When I first touch this, I always like to check this and see how it goes, and it entertains me. But now it's used to it already. So these are the three reports, three graphs I want to show you. It's a very, very simple demonstration. They have a lot of visualizations. You can see, maybe you just click into the three little dots in the visualizations. And sorry, I didn't tell you the outcome. Yeah, click here and import from marketplace. You can see there are quite a lot of visuals there in the marketplace. If the one default satisfied Power BI cannot satisfy you, you can always find what you want from the marketplace. So there are hundreds there. So let's close it. So that's everything for reports I want to demonstrate. And if you are interested, like I said, it's totally free and just try it yourself. So let's quickly move on to the data set. Go back to my workspace. Just don't save it. Go back to workspace and data set. So there are something here I want to tell you is actually Power BI, just like I said previously, the data was imported into Power BI automatically. It's based on what you schedule. You can schedule it by, let's say, refresh daily or refresh, let's say, weekly. And also, you can also refresh it anytime you want. I put $10 million sales in Zero, and I just want to see how it flows into my profit and loss in Power BI. So I can refresh it now, and in minutes, you can see the live report after that. So you can see Teddy has already shown it here. If you click refresh now here, it will refresh after any changes in Zero. Or you can schedule refresh. Please click into the schedule refresh and click scheduled refresh. And you can see it's already on, and the frequency is daily. You can also choose weekly. And you can also choose the time as well. It's very user-friendly. And yeah, you can see there are some other things here, and you can have a look when you have time. And that is everything I want to talk about in dataset. Now let's go to the most exciting thing, I think, in Power BI. So let's go back to dashboard. There is a little thing we didn't touch here called ask a question just about Chin's head. And there is ask a question about your data. So that is actually behaves like a data analytics. We can ask any question, not any question. You cannot ask like random questions, but you can ask some questions to Power BI. Let's say I just want to know the current ratio now. So you just type current ratio.
And you think in the future customer use their phone and actually talk to the phone, right? Okay, Google, I want you to show me this. Now we're talking about artificial intelligence, right?
So let's click current ratio, enter it. You can see the current ratio figure is this. And I want to see how the current ratio flows month by month. Let's simply click space. After that, and you can see something pop up by month end, by account class, by account name, etc., etc. Let's just choose by month end, and you can see a change generated there. So you can ask a lot of questions to Power BI, and Power BI just behave like a data analytics and tell you all the answers you want to know, not all, some questions, some answers you want to know, relate to business.
So do you want to play a game, just in case you get sleepy? So why don't we get 10 questions from the audience and see what Power BI looks like? Just random. Think this is your customers. And so I'll put up the first question.
Yes.
Who is my biggest customers?
Let's see if it can tell you.
And this is not...
You have to actually type the biggest customer, so you can
Oh.
No, you didn't.
then it's not smart.
No, I think you only have to do
Not smart enough.
So you may need to...
Let's do that, Sabu.
So we can...
Customer in Australia?
we give you questions or not?
Yeah, so...
No,
Alright, next.
So before the question, just one sentence, sorry. So we can always know, like, let's feed Power BI first, and as time passes, I think Power BI is able to feed us. So we can always find our answer by another way, like, don't book me now. So we can choose customers, and actually it shows me all the details related to this customer. It tells me if it is a customer, the email address, overdue, outstanding, and AP outstanding if it is a supplier. And you can see it does not fit you. You may need to know it with the report as I just demonstrated. Okay, just your answer, your question.
How much money do my customers owe?
Type the whole question in and see what it reacted like.
Ready to booze.
Oh, how much money? Oh.
How much money borrowed from Harry Cole?
$1.
I don't know how much I'm out of pocket.
How much is receivable, for example?
Oh.
How much money?
Oh, no, that's all you want. Sorry. Overexcited.
How much again? Time for
Just
questions.
time for
What was the question again? How much money? All I heard was money.
How much money do my customers owe me? So maybe how much they are outstanding. So this is the total AR outstanding, which is 3,750. Woohoo!
Next question.
How many bad debts?
Only one question next time. Otherwise, you have to fight for it. You want to have the next question?
Next question?
Go back to Power BI. Okay, Suzuki.
Anything. You don't need me. You don't
Yeah, just do random questions.
Nothing is fun. It's not boring.
Who is my naughty customer?
Start the whole sentence in and see how it reacts.
Yeah, just see the most.
It reminds me when I first got Apple phone, I played with Siri.
Oh, smart. You actually pick it up.
Yeah.
That's outstanding.
So does that mean Harry is a naughty customer?
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Actually, just pick up the who is my customer and ignore the naughty there.
Smart.
Anyone want to test Power BI? The tough question.
How's my cash flow look like?
How does my cash flow look like?
Let's try to do something.
Just
How
time.
is my cash flow? Ew.
Good luck.
Doesn't work. Then maybe you can just show the total cash.
What do you say? How does my cash flow? How is it?
So they don't recognize cash flow. Maybe you just choose the closing balance of the bank and it will recognize. So currently it's still, as I said, you need to fit Power BI and maybe later Power BI is able to fit you.
It's not too bad.
Any other things? Yeah?
Have you? Why not?
Sorry guys, I missed you there.
When do I bankrupt?
Start the whole sentence in. See what it comes out.
No, there is no bankrupt in this.
They don't want you to bankrupt, so they exclude it from their database.
Let's actually give us a reward.
Next.
Okay.
Any other challenge that we put up with Microsoft? Right, move on, Eva. I think we're getting close.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, that's pretty much everything I want to show. So I leave the exciting part at last. And yes, I hope you enjoy the session. I hope you enjoy Power BI. And I just remember you just said you want to meet some sales target, and I forgot to show you how to do that. Let's just simply do that very quickly. Let's go back to the report. Very quickly. Let's go back to reports and demo 2 maybe. Demo 2 reports. And edit report. And let's just it's okay. Let's go back to the profit and loss. And click the first graph. And go to the data analytics. That icon, data analysis, that icon beside the format. No, yes, that one. And you can put a constant line there. Add. And let's say we want to meet the 5,000 as a sales target. You just put 5,000 there. And you can see there is 5,000 line there. And you can see how it flows around the 5,000. And actually, it partially realized what we want. We want a target there. Yes.
You learned something new today?
Yes. So there are some constant line, minimum line, maximum line, average line, median line, percentile line as well. So there is a very simple calculation there and able to satisfy your requirement. Okay. So pretty much everything.
Thanks, Eva.
Thank you.
Actually,
Well, thanks everyone. Staying for a long day. Thank you all the staff. I felt like this Friday. But it's cold. We've got 2 more days. End of financial year, so we'll be busy. I would like to have a special announcement, and I guess this is come from the people who put a lot of hard work in, including our marketing and education team leads, our IT guys and Kazuki as well. In the last 1.5 years running this program, we've seen the high interest in people who really want to learn practical skills. And really our time and resources and really limitations in terms of the time and resources, we cannot give this to everyone. Many of you came and asked whether you can do the internship with us, but 1 semester we can only take 2. So how can we solve these problems? And we've been thinking for the last 12 months, trying to see if anything else we can do outside of this sort of meeting training room. So we've invented extended our accounting change website, because this sort of face-to-face web seminars into a more like a virtual environment. And under the accounting change website now you can see there's an options there for premium. This is actually designed to start with for the students who really want to get connected to our programs. You know that a year we deliver 4 seminars. So in the future, just want to consolidate everything in one piece. So all you have to do is really register for a student's package, which is free, and you get access to all our 4 events a year, and we guarantee that there's no cost involved. The benefit of signing up is really you can register online. You can see that today we stopped printing the certificate because we're going to do it electronically through the portal. So you have an account, log in, you can see all the upcoming events, you can see all the slides, all the videos that we've been spending time with, all that recording, and you can watch it again and again from your portal. And that's what we do, is really to create a community of people who want to learn some really practical learnings and improving their skills and help them to really find a job in the future, right? So, and that's the first thing we did. Then we move on to the next level, which basically It's a small pilot version, really, but this program, we committed that this is not a for-profit program, it's really a social impact program. So the sign-up there for the next level we call Student Plus, which costs less than $5 a month. What do you get from there with the Student Plus? Other than getting to 4 events like this a year, you get access to all the materials, previous futures events. You also get access to our staff learning portal. And this is really important that Teddy will go into the Zero learning portal and show you what in there. So what you would get with this second Student Plus is really can get access to our staff learning portal in Zero. Teddy. So if you can go to Zero now. Every year our staff have to do a certain learning themselves through the Zero education programs that given to us because we are partnered with Zero. And within this learning, this online learning, there's many courses out there, there's many videos, content, but other than that, just sitting on the seminars and getting sort of certificate of attendance, you also get a certification as a certified Zero user. What it means is really in your CV, you got that green Zero certifications by doing all that cost, and this program is designed and provided by Zero. So it's certified by Zero. And that is a key benefit for the Student Plus version, is really you get access to the learning program, learning portal that our staff has access. And within Zero currently we have Zero Advisor certification, you have the Zero Payroll certification, and you also have the Cloud Integration certification.
The migration phase.
And this is not selling of Zero, but really the vision of Zero in the next few years is really to create a Zero universities, they call it. So there are going to be a lot more cost and good content coming out for people like us, accountants, who work with Zero, and also someone like a student who want to get into that practical learning. Because really learning from today's the quick section this morning to about end of year is really fast. It's only 1 hour. And you want to spend, a few hours logging to computers yourself and do your self-learning. And like I said, the benefit is really you get that certification, and it's certified by Zero. Right? There's a lot more content writing in. Our aim is really to turn this portal into an approach for education, and it's a non-profit initiative that we do. It's a social impact program. We're working with a number of training providers other than Zero, so the Student Plus can get access to all the other online courses as well. That would get you into the online learning environment, and you can get the certifications credited cost hopefully in the future. But for now, in the beta release, really, Zero certification is what we really want to drive out, and we want to see the impact of people who are attending that Zero certifications and see if that improve the chance for them to find a job in the future. But keep in mind this is still beta early, so in the next 6 months you'll see more functions coming up, and we're going to fully release it. But it's exciting, and thanks for the work from the marketing, the ITs, and the quality management teams, and to all the staff as well. Thank you. You want to close?
Right, yeah. So that's pretty much the end of session. Thank you for coming. This is the 6th event. So we are planning to have next one in September, but we haven't decided exactly today. But we will bring more different topics. So if you wanna, if you have specific requests, you can send it to me. I can't promise that I will take it, but I promise that I will read it and I will consider it. Overall, it's pretty good. I think it starts from the end of the year to leadership and project management to flexible work, Power BI. It's quite cool. I'm pretty sure our staff also learn few new things because I think it's a bit,
Thanks very much.
Different areas like Power BI. I know that not many of us have used in our office, only probably Friday, weekend, and ebook payments as well. So I'm pretty sure you guys are using as well. So I would like to say thank you for AU, CBE, which you guys see there, they're sponsoring us. Also.